We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends if you want to support this rebel outpost. If you want to support the home for college football sickos like you with a donation to help us keep the lights on, hit the $sign where you make a comment, and I'll get to you super chat as quick as I possibly can. Everybody is welcome into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with the comments and with the phone calls later in the show. We've got a stacked show. It's a weird one today. It's a strange one today. We do have some PATC exclusive information. Well, it really isn't. But it's something that a whole lot of people are not talking about. It's something that we were made aware of here in the last 3 or 4 days. We did a live show a couple months ago, 6 weeks ago, and we titled it UNC in Virginia Joined at the Hip. We went through the reasons why, the long history of Virginia and North Carolina, why they are joined at the hip. And we think they're joined at the hip, and they're going to be joined at the hip during the next realignment wave, during this next disruption that is about to occur in the next 3 years. We went through the reasons why that is. The one major report out of that live show is North Carolina and Virginia, they have been communicating with each other, planning, strategizing, not just ruling over the ACC through Tobacco Road, but they've been doing all this back and forth when it comes to their future, if it so happens, outside of the ACC. They've made deals with each other. They've contemplated things together. They both decided to shut down the Big Ten's advances before the Big Ten went and got themselves Rutgers and Maryland. So that was the big one out of that live show. Now we have been told a couple of other things that ties Virginia and North Carolina together. So again, we at Peek Around the Corner, we may end up being wrong in all this. I don't think so. But if we are wrong in all this, we'll take the big L. But when this disruption happens, I think Virginia is going to be tied right with North Carolina. And we're going to give you a couple more reasons why today. Again, just you can look at it and say, great, that isn't much. All added together. But I get it. Most college football YouTube channels, they're not even talking about Virginia. They don't bring the eyeballs, they say. There's not money in that, they say. I get all that. I do. I understand all those numbers. I get it. But there is other intangibles that always comes along with these realignment waves. And that intangible is relationships. It is unbelievably important. And you can't put that on a chart. You cannot put that on a graph. A lot of people are doing a lot of great work out there on these graphs when they're trying to put down a metric form so everybody can understand what could happen, what might happen, what will happen in the next conference realignment wave. A lot of people are doing a lot of great work out there on that. I happen not to be one of them. I'm just not one of those. I just don't have that. I don't have that intellect, right? I don't have that skill set. I don't have that tool in my toolbox. However, to defend myself just a little bit, not trying to pat myself in the back, just to defend myself. There are other people out there that put up graphs and they're talking about this stuff all the time. They try to put it in metric form. The guy from Wharton College, I forget what his name is. The guy from Wharton College. The other guy who's just he lives in a pretend world. These guys put up all these graphs, right? They put up all these spreadsheets. They're putting down all this metrics. They did all of that. Remember, they did all of that 2 years ago. Everything they're doing now, they did 2 years ago, And all those graphs told them to tell us that Oregon was a no-go for the Big Ten. Remember that. Oregon's not coming in, Greg. Oregon is not going to the Big Ten, Greg. And then those same graphs, same people who made those same spreadsheets told all of us, well, there's no way that the Big 12 is going to successfully poach the Pac-12. It ain't going to happen. And the people that are telling you that are lying to you for clicks and views. And now they're the same people who are putting up all these graphs and saying football viewership is the only thing that matters. It's the only thing that matters. So therefore, the Big Ten is going to pick up Clemson and Florida State. Before I get on to everything else, I'm going to make this TJ Altmore. Thank you. That's the name. I'm going to, before I get on everything, I'm going to make this a daily routine. The Big Ten, for good and for bad, call them the evil empire. The evil empire, the Big Ten, is still the Big Ten. They are. Now, that might mean, in your mind, that might mean the Big Ten's going to go like this. Poof! That could happen. That could absolutely, they might lose out to the SEC. You might be absolutely correct. Or some of you might think, good, the Big Ten, the Big Ten is still the Big Ten. That means the Big Ten's going to go woof. Okay? Either way, I'm fine with whatever you think is going to happen. I have no clue. Big Ten going to be as successful 15 years from now as it is today? I don't know. But I can tell you today, on April 29th, the Big Ten is the Big Ten. It's still the Big Ten. It hasn't changed. What I mean by that is, and again, we've got a lot to talk about today. We're even going to talk about Bill Belichick and his girlfriend. I am not going to judge. Whatever makes them both happy, fantastic. I'm not going to be judging anybody else's relationships. What they do is fine. But I'm talking about their relationship in regards to what UNC, North Carolina, according to reports, is now worried. I'm going to be taking it from... Well, I'm only bringing it up because of North Carolina is now worried. I say, go whatever you want to do as consulting adults. I don't care about the age gap. I don't care about anything. But we got to talk about it because it has seeped in. It has seeped into the reality that North Carolina made a huge gamble on Bill Belichick. And maybe that gamble, maybe there's hints and clues that gamble has become a little bit bigger. We're going to step into it, then we're going to quickly step out of it because there's a lot of it I don't feel comfortable talking about. Look, there's a lot of head coaches in college football in which their wives are very involved in the football program. A lot of them. Now, this is a girlfriend. It's a little bit different. But there's a lot. Look, I'm not going to start naming names. I know a couple in particular. The wives are very, very involved. But we're going to bring it up just a little bit because, it's made the news and And according to reports, we're going to hit it just a second, North Carolina's getting a little bit worried. But I went off beat there. We got a lot to talk about today, but I just wanted to start this show off because there is this idea out there. There is this idea out there. How do I say this? How do I say this? The Pac-12 went down, but it did not go down like it did put up somewhat of a fight. It just wasn't going to work. A one-region conference, unless you're in the Southeastern Conference of the United States, it ain't going to work. It wasn't going to work for the Big Ten. Jim Delaney had the vision, we got to get to a second region. We got to try to get North Carolina, Virginia. They failed. Then they got Rutgers and Maryland. And then the Big Ten went out west to USC. The one region conference isn't going to work. It cannot provide enough bandwidth, enough content. It doesn't give enough value to your media partners, unless you're the SEC. Okay? So I keep hearing this idea that, Olympic sports, these non-revenue sports, can go back to the regions. Football, we'll keep the conferences the way, but the non-revenue sports, we should go back to regional play. I don't know what to tell you, other than it ain't happening. It ain't happening. It dominates X. It dominates the message board. People are dreaming up this stuff. It ain't happening. It ain't happening. The Big Ten is not going to blow up their conference. Not going to blow up their conference. They're not going to do it. They're not going to say, okay, schools, you can leave Big Ten baseball and join the Pac-12 baseball once again. They're not going to be doing it for soccer. They're not going to be doing it for hockey. They're not going to be doing it for anything. The Pac-12 went down because it could no longer, the top brands left the Pac-12 because the Pac-12 could not longer keep up. USC went to the Big Ten, UCLA, then Oregon. You know the story. If the Big Ten collapses, if it collapses 15 years from now, 20 years from now, for whatever reason, a meteorite hits the middle of the country, Yellowstone National Park, gases blow up and it blows in it, whatever happens, whatever the reasons why, the Big Ten will blow up at the hands of them falling behind, let's say, the SEC. And then on Ohio State or Michigan or Penn State, they decide to leave the conference. But that is, the chances of that happening is very slim 15 years from now, but I'll go ahead and leave that door open. But it ain't going to happen because of some Super League or some, we should go back to regional play for Olympic sports, or I'm saying all this for this one reason. Because it has to do with conference realignment. I'm telling you. I'm trying to get this point across. I have completely failed so far. I can tell that I failed. And I'm not saying this so the Big Ten people can cheer and say, oh, look at us, or the SEC people can cheer and say, oh, look, we're all so special. Because you're not. I'm saying this because it's reality. The Big Ten is a monster. The SEC is a monster. They're not going away. They're not. I mean, not anytime soon. Like, not anytime soon. They're not going away. They're not disappearing. They're not going to get folded up by a Super League. They're not going to, the Big Ten, if you're talking about having Olympic sports in regional play, of course the SEC don't have to break up, right? Because that's one region. So basically what you're saying is the Big Ten should break up. For the good of everybody, it ain't going to happen. The Big Ten and the SEC are using their brands. They have spent tens of millions of dollars. Decades after, they have spent over $1 billion. Billions of dollars on their brand. Decade after decade after decade. Building up their brands. There's a lot of reasons why there's a creation of the Big Ten Network, but one of the reasons why it was a marketing tool, it was a branding tool. Same thing with the SEC Network. You saw it today. I put it out. I liked it. Let me show you something here. Let me show you something. There's a reason why I'm saying all this. Okay? There's a reason why I'm saying all this. There is a reason. I know it sounds like I'm going all over the place. And I am. But there's a reason for it. The Southeastern Conference. The SEC is hosting the 21st SEC Sports Medicine Medical Meeting this weekend, an annual program that provides continuing education to medical professions across the SEC footprint. The SEC is using their brand. It's not just an athletic brand. It's become an academic brand. It's become a research brand. It's become a medical brand. It is they're not going to give it up. The SEC ain't going to give that up to be Georgia and Mississippi, Tennessee and Arkansas are not going to be under some umbrella called the College Sports Super League by Citibank, whatever it is. The SEC is going to keep growing, keep pushing their brand. Okay. I say all of that. Because the Big Ten is still the Big Ten. The SEC is still the SEC. If you want to understand what is going to happen next, to even have a shot at it, to even have a shot at getting it right, even have a shot at figuring out what is going to happen, and it's going to be difficult. You've got to understand it from the perspective of the Big Ten and the SEC, which does not allow the spreadsheets, the metrics, to account for everything. In fact, I do declare that it accounts for just a little bit of the actual decision making that is going on inside the walls of the SEC presidents and the Big Ten presidents. Those spreadsheets that you're looking out there, there ain't much there. There is, but there's a whole nother level to all this. A whole nother level to all this. The Oregon and Washington. If you don't understand how Oregon and Washington came into the Big Ten, you're not going to understand how a Florida State and Clemson doesn't work. It's as simple as that. A combination of Florida State and Clemson is not getting into the Big Ten. Ladies and gentlemen, it ain't happening. It ain't happening. Zero shot. Now, if I end up being wrong, you guys know what I'll do. I'll eat 2 cheeseburgers at the same time, live. But it ain't going to happen. And what is, and what people are going to find out in the next couple of years, what people are going to, it could be sooner. I mean, it's going to be, it's going to happen within the next 3 years, definitely, in my opinion. But what people are going to find out, it's going to hit them it's going to hit them hard. That the SEC, they are different than the Big Ten. No question about it. But they're looking at the same stuff that the Big Ten is. What interests the Big Ten has now interested the SEC. So we'll go more over that. But today we've got some information on UNC and Virginia. Today, I'm going to let you guys in on a little bit of nugget. That not a little, it's a big nugget. But we don't have it confirmed. A hot bubble of action that involves UNC Chapel Hill. Did it happen? Did it happen? Did we have a May 7th Chicago, Colorado in the Big 12? Did it happen for UNC just recently? I do not know. But I'm warning you, everybody. I could be coming on live later tonight, early tomorrow morning. Tomorrow. There is something that I'm working on. I've got other people working on it. There are, dare I say, won't go there, but it's something that I have not confirmed. Maybe other people have. But and I don't think anything, now look, I don't think anything is imminent. No way. No, I don't think so. There is way too much going on. But the talks, they are happening. And we believe something happened once again in a certain major city in the United States just recently. So we are going to hit upon that. So we've got a lot of stuff to get through. I want to do a roll call. I appreciate it. My prof is in the house. Thanks for coming on in. I appreciate everybody for joining us on a Tuesday, April 29th. It's been a while. I've been out for 3 days. I've been busy. I drove the wife. She's in Iowa. I've been a very busy man lately. I wanted to do this show earlier today. Life got in the way. And then I wanted to be able to nail down some stuff so that I could make some announcement on this show today. I couldn't really nail it down, but I just want to give you a little glimpse. Just a little glimpse of something that we're trying to get confirmed. Just treat it as a rumor right now. Put it in the speculation zone. I'm telling you, there is a lot going on. Remember the live show that we did? We called it April Chatters, May Matters. We're 2 days away from May. May is going to matter. Not because anything is imminent. It's not. Not when it comes to the next disruption. But May matters because we believe there's going to be some resolution with this settlement, House settlement. There's going to be some touchdown being scored on the college football playoff format. We think that's going to happen in May. And then we do believe We have reasons to believe that prior, during, or right after the ACC May meetings, that we're going to be getting some reporting on the next possible disruption. And it might be just in speculation form. Because if you've noticed, we've talked about this before, you've noticed this. I know you have. Since Florida State and Clemson won those massive victories in the courts, you haven't even heard any speculation on who could be going where and who could be talking to who. And remember, they were all speculating about it, just like us. They've all been speculating about it on their podcast. You've heard it. You've heard Pete Thamel. You've heard Ross Dellinger. You've heard Brett McMurphy. You've heard Heather Dinich. You've heard Paul Feinbaum. You've heard Wasserman, Staple. You've heard them all. They've all speculated on this for years. What if Florida State and Clemson could get out of the gore? What if the ACC would implode? What if there is a way for multiple ACC schools to leave the conference? What was that? The Congo line? The choo-choo line? I don't know. What's the name? Brett McMurphy. People, there could be dancing. That wedding dance coming up. Well, what happened? Now suddenly, Florida State and Clemson get a massive victory in the courts, and it's no speculation at all. No speculation at all. Yeah, there's a lot of news stuff. There's huge news items. There's real stuff going on right now. So that probably is a large part of it. But no speculation at all. None. Nada. Maybe they're embargoed from even speculating on it. But I think we're going to get at least some speculation in May. Kayla Ramirez is in the house. Bill G, Saved by Grace Skaven. Yes. Stephen Vitt is in the house. Jay Go Blue, Amazing Blue. Jeff Morgan, Jay Chapman, Les Austin Jr., Kenneth Stromness, Mountaineer Memes. I've ordered my last 2 burgers with no cheese. I think you're onto something, Greg. Tastes better without. There it is. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. There it is. Oh my God. It's happened. It's happened. It was always going to happen. And it's going to be a virus. One person is going to try it. They're going to love it. The next person is going to try it without cheese. Add grilled onions. Add grilled mushrooms. You know why cheese gets put on burgers? You know why fast food does it? That is their way of adding salt to their burger. Go ahead and add salt to the burger. Go ahead and add seasoning to the burger. It has happened. It has happened. The PATC family is waking up. The PATC family is waking up. No cheese on your hamburger. No cheese on your hamburger. Thank God Almighty. Free at last. Free at last. No cheese on your hamburger. All right. George Holton, Osceola Trucker is in the house. Chris G, you're taking the big L on this one. UNC UVA update. All right. Tuffy Duffy's in the house. Preston from Greensboro. I'll take Jordan out Belichick hands for UNC's football's sake. Yeah. Go Black 45 is in the house. Expansion Crush is here. Chris G is in the house. Heelan, Florida. Coy, John Boxleitner. Virginia Tech is 34-5 against North Carolina, Virginia since joining the ACC in 2004. 4637 Warrior is in the house. John Famlor is here. Morris Simmons is in the house. Who else is here? I've got the Keys. Keith Moore is in the house. Stephen McNeely, thanks for coming on in. Check it out. Shaquille O'Neal, the general manager of the Sacramento State. Are they the Hornets? I don't remember what they are. Sacramento State basketball program. Shaquille O'Neal. Dante's Inferno Purgatory is in the house. Michael Smith is here. Who else? Terry Kane, Daniel Gygax, Chad Bracey, Bo Weevil. 38th anniversary, May 2nd. Congratulations, Bo Weevil. Congratulations. 38-year anniversary. Wow. Wow. May 1st is the 23rd year anniversary of myself asking the little general to marry me. I asked her May 1st, 2022. I asked her in Spanish and she answered in English back to me. So May 1st to May 2nd, very important days. Bo Weevil, Greg Flugar, Almighty Finn is in the house. Amazing Blue, thank you so much for your incredible generosity. 5 gifted memberships. Kerry, Gold Nose, Jags, Benjamin Griffin, Timbo, Art Thompson, CHJ229. You've all been gifted a membership. Please say thank you to Amazing Blue for his incredible generosity. All of you are knighted, Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger. Please go to our library of episodes. All the episodes are open to you, including the early peak Cloak and Dagger. We dropped episode 56 just a few days ago. Check it out. Check it out. Thank you, Amazing Blue. I appreciate the incredible generosity you have given us to this show week after week, month after month. It is so, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Florida Man is here. Our 37th is on May 3rd. Mayor McCheese, congratulations, Florida Man. Congratulations. Mayor McCheese, kind of like a cult. Maybe I'm guilty of trying to form a cult around people saying no to the slice of cheese on my hamburger. I could be guilty of that. I probably am guilty of that. I am guilty of that. Roman Maroney is in the house. Rowan Phillips is here. Expedition Greg, Mr. Buckeye, gifted membership to Joshua Irby. Joshua Irby, when you get an opportunity, please say thank you to Expedition Greg for his generosity. Both of you are knighted, Cloak and Dagger. Joshua, when you get an opportunity, go check out our library of shows. Thank you, Expedition Greg. I appreciate it once again. Very good friend of mine, Mr. Buckeye. Thank you so much for your kindness. Really, truly. Nittany89 is in the house. Simple rules in life. No cheese. No, you can have cheese. I love cheese. Love it. I love grilled cheese. Grilled cheese is fantastic. Grilled ham and cheese is horrific. CHJ229 Seminole says, thank you for the membership. Beautiful. Jose is in the house. Cranky Tiger is in the house. Movie Time Blues is in the house. RW is here. Rock Chalk Late Vox Quindaro is in the house. Michael Smith. Opie. Oh boy. Oh boy. Opie is the balance. He is the balance on this show. He's not falling for my cult group. Ryan Willie. Burger with no cheese. Gotta have cheese. Thank you so much, Evil Badger, Ryan Willie. Thank you so much. Appreciate the super chat. Thank you for all your generosity you have given us over the last year. Thank you so very much. We disagree on this, but we even though you're a Badger and I'm a Gopher, we do end up agreeing on a lot of things we talk about. I appreciate it so very much. Cat's Claws in the house. Rock and Rant. North Carolina Bill Belichick's our pending train wreck, but I still question whether conference is going to make a lifetime decision based off a current old coach. I don't think they will. Yeah, I don't think so. AZ Buckeye 96. I agree with Rock and Rant. Would Fox approve a Virginia North Carolina ad? Good question. They would have definitely not at full freight, right? Not at full freight. And they may need a little bit of a help. They may, again, everything that the Big Ten is doing is targeting North Carolina and Notre Dame. So, in Miami, sitting in the sweet spot. I think all of them would make it work. Let's put it that way. They would approve it, but maybe not at the... We think the Big Ten is the underdogs at getting North Carolina and Virginia. We've made that pretty clear. A lot of reasons why. One of the reasons is simply the SEC would give them full freight. I don't think Fox would. But would Fox approve at some level? I think they would. Yeah. Are you a fan of Philly cheesesteak sandwiches? That is the worst that is the worst sandwiches in the history of mankind. And it is why, I'm sorry, Penn State fans out there, it is why I believe that the Philadelphia Eagles sport fans, the Philadelphia Flyers sports fans, and the Philadelphia Phillies sports fans are not happy people. Even when they win the Super Bowl. They are rude. They are unhappy. They boo Santa Claus. And it all has to do because they eat the Philly cheesesteak. Okay, we got a big show up ahead of us. Big show. Let's get it on. First thing. The Pac-12 finalized. This is Washington State and Oregon State, right? They are the Pac-12 for 2025. They finalized their football media rights. 13 games, Washington State, Oregon State, home matchups. The CW is going to get 9 of them. CBS and ESPN is going to get 2 games each. Now, of course, this is a 1-year stopgap before a longer-term deal in 2026 when the Pac-12 truly becomes the Pac-12 or the Pac-8. Whenever they get their 8th full member, the Pac-12 conference is going to come alive in 2026. So that is some news. We don't know what the money is for Washington State and Oregon State. It's probably not a whole lot. Washington State and Oregon State chose exposure over money in 2024, and they did probably the same thing here in 2025. Exposure is the main component that Washington State and Oregon State were looking for in these 2 years before they become a real conference in 2026. So I expect the money part is not all that much. Brian Murphy, WRAL. It's been reported yesterday, today. The ACC they're looking at reducing their conference basketball games. Brian Murphy, I get the ACC needs to do something to help men's basketball, but playing 20 league games is not why the ACC went 2-14 in the SEC Challenge. Wrote this before the NCAA tourney. There's a big article. We went through that article when he wrote about it. Absolutely. Reducing your conference league games, that doesn't do anything, in my opinion. It does nothing. It does nothing. You know, the ACC football conference, they play 8 conference games. Them playing 8 conference games versus 9 conference games, that doesn't help them at all. You know, they don't make more money. I mean, they would make more money if they could get an agreement with ESPN to go from 8 conference games to 9. But then that's going to screw up their Notre Dame rotation even more. Reducing the games isn't gonna help them at all. Now, before we get to the Bill Belichick story, and again, I'm not going to go at this in the way that other people have, and some people have done it in a very entertaining fashion. To consenting adults, I go for it. If they're happy, they're happy. None of them are being abused, hopefully. But again, sources have told a couple of different outlets, one being On3, another being TMZ, and there may be another one out there, that North Carolina, the University of North Carolina, is starting to have some concerns about the lady in question, Jordan, in which she receives emails. Now, this was reported back from Matt Baker from the Athletic, all the way back on April 15th, a couple weeks ago, where she is getting emails, a lot of emails CC'd to her, and she's not an employee of the athletic department or the university. She doesn't have any contracts with the athletic department or the university. She's not married to Bill Belichick, but yet a lot of communications she has to be CC'd on them. She's got to be copied on them. That has the concern of North Carolina. But before I get to that, there was a report. Let me see if I can. Before we get to that, you know what? I'll get to that later. I'm going to get to that later. I just called an audible. Okay. So, again, Bill Belichick, some pictures here with his girlfriend. The lady, I'm not even going to go through this. This was a message. So, this message was from Bill Belichick to people, to Jordan, his girlfriend, and other people at North Carolina and the publishers of his book. Bill Belichick is out there doing interviews, right? Doing this media thing where you're trying to push your book that he just wrote. A book in which he doesn't mention the name Robert Kraft at all, the owners of the Patriots, but does mention his girlfriend. Okay, that's fine. But again, she puts out this email that Bill Belichick wrote to everybody saying, look, this is what we got. I don't know why she put this message out. Did she get the okay from Bill Belichick? I do not know, but she put this out today. Taylor Swift, look what you made me do. They're blaming, they're going after the media. They're going after the media on this interview that just took place. Before we get to that interview that just took place, I want to go back to April, mid-April. How involved is Bill Belichick's girlfriend at UNC? New emails show a glimpse inside her role. We're going to go through this real quick. Okay? Real quick. Again, fantastic to both of them. If they're in love, that's great. I'm not going to judge this relationship. I'm not going to make fun of it. I know there's a 50, 48, 45, whatever year gap, but whatever they want to do, that's fine with me. I do not care. The only reason I'm bringing this up today is because today is the day that North Carolina, or there's reports that North Carolina is getting concerned about her role in what is happening at the university. And remember, Bubba Cunningham, we said this is the year of Bubba Cunningham, that 2025 was going to be the year of Bubba. Holy smokes, this was a huge gamble. North Carolina is making a lot of moves. In front of the camera, behind the camera. This was the biggest one to begin the season, the calendar year. And is it going to work out for North Carolina? Is it? Is it? Now, we're not going to go through this, each word of this. This is an old article, 2 weeks ago. The Athletic obtained those emails through an open records request. The 44 pages provide a glimpse at the role of his girlfriend, Jordan Hudson, as Belichick steers college program for the first time. Hudson does not have a contract or other employment agreement with the university according to a public records request. But again, Hudson wrote in one of what they picked up in a FOIA. This was her saying, though Steve Belichick is in fact Bill's son, he should be depicted and represented as his own established, credible entity as opposed to an extension of Bill. It can be easily misinterpreted that Steve is simply benefiting from nepotism. That is not the case. Steve was fortunate to have learned defensive football strategy from the great defensive mind of all time. He has earned his position due to performance and output. They don't want an Iowa situation, a nepotism. They don't want even that to creep in. Jordan Hudson says that the school should not use images of Steve and Bill Belichick together. It is really worth emphasizing the point that Steve has experience being a college defensive coordinator and will bring a plethora of knowledge to the coaching staff, on and on and on and on, right? Later that evening, the Tar Heels administrator in charge of marketing, athletic communications, and creative services responded. Robbie Pickerel Evans, North Carolina Senior Associate Director for External Affairs and Strategic Communications. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I skipped over one part. Jordan Hudson talked about how there were bad things being written about Bill Belichick in the comments section of North Carolina message boards. So when she complained about it, the Tar Heels administration went and said, the Tar Heels hadn't yet posted anything about Belichick's hire, but they would certainly promote talking about his son. Okay, that keeps going on about his son. Okay. Is there anyone monitoring the UNC football page for slanderous commentary? Blocking users that are harassing BB in the comments? Hudson asked on February 13. Again, people criticizing the coach. People being slanderous in the UNC football message boards. Now that happens everywhere. To every football, right? To every coach. I don't care how successful you are. People are going to complain about you. On Valentine's Day, 3 days later, Belichick followed up, I cannot believe that UNC would support my being called a predator, he wrote. So Belichick, 3 days after Jordan said, look, people are slandering him. And now Bill Belichick is saying, I cannot believe that UNC. He's already kind of challenging UNC, a new head coach, because they're not monitoring the message board's good enough. Evans responded that the Tar Heels hid or erased a comment about their personal life and would continue to block, ban, or hide similar remarks. The school did not find a reference to Belichick as a predator, and Evans called it incredibly inappropriate. And as you noted below, UNC would never support. Okay. So that was a couple weeks ago. That's a lot of old news, right? So Belichick had this interview promoting his book. Yahoo Sports. Report, Bill Belichick's girlfriend delayed CBS interviewed for 30 minutes after storming out. When the bizarre Bill Belichick book tour interview first surfaced on Sunday, we explained that CBS Mornings included his girlfriend's instruction that he not talk about how they met, because it wasn't the only time she interrupted the proceedings. Now, personally, I do not care how they met. Not my business. Again, I'm not interested in that part of the story. The reason this is the first time I'm talking about it is going to be quite clear later in this very short article. Okay? Me personally, I do not care how they met, and I'm okay with them not answering the question. That's not important to me at all. But that wasn't the only question that she interrupted the proceedings on. TMZ reports that at one point, Jordan Hudson stormed out of the room and delayed shooting for 30 minutes. Per the report, there were numerous other instances of Hudson interrupting Belichick, beyond the one specific interjection that made the final cut. She would stop and correct him when he was answering questions about football. Okay, if true, and I don't know, it may not be true, but if she actually would stop and correct him when he was answering questions about football, we've got ourselves a problem at North Carolina Chapel Hill. We do. I mean, if this is true, if true, what is she gonna? I mean, Bill Belichick is one of my worries about this story is, if this is true, Bill Belichick used to be a control freak. He controlled everything in New England. He micromanaged everything for the Patriots. He controlled the message. He controlled the draft. He controlled He went to Indianapolis Combine. He did all the analyst work. He was a control freak. And suddenly his girlfriend, I don't care what age she is, I don't care where she's interrupting Bill Belichick when he's answering questions about football. TMZ also reports that CBS producers were surprised that Belichick arrived for the interview, accompanied only by Hudson. There was no one from his publisher, the University of North Carolina, or any other representative present. I got one more thing about. I got something to say about that. TMZ also reports that a second session with Belichick had been planned, but CBS scrapped it. CBS did it. If you have two sessions all lined up with Bill Belichick and you're scrapping the second one, holy smokes. There's a problem. There is a problem. And I'm not talking about their relationship as them being a couple. I'm talking about the relationship of Bill Belichick in North Carolina. Look, when he was doing this interview, he's the new head coach of North Carolina. North Carolina. He's got nothing blue on. He has no North Carolina baby blue on, baby. He's got nothing. He's got a Navy shirt. It's got holes in it. He's not taking the time to represent. That's not what college coaches do. They're always representing their university in almost all of these things, in some capacity. The TMZ item ends with a quote that qualifies as a top 5 finalist for understatement of the decade, while pointing out that folks at UNC are worried about Hudson's influence over Belichick in his role as Tar Heels coach. TMZ quotes an unnamed source as saying there's a growing sense this could become a problem. Holy smokes. If you're having, again, if a lot of the communications between Belichick and people at North Carolina, his girlfriend is being CC'd on him. They do an interview which doesn't go smooth at all. It's only her and him. He's got nobody else around him. And if it's true that she's even interrupting on questions of football, if that is true, there could be a serious issue. And then again, I showed you today, things haven't tapered down. I'm not even going to, she's already, she doesn't use her Twitter much. Jordan Hudson, she's used it a bunch of times today. They are on the offensive. They're going after CBS. They're going after the interview. And CBS have scrapped the second one. North Carolina has put a lot of money into this head coach. They put a lot of money into the assistant salary, the staffing. They put a lot of money through more money in recruiting and travel and helicopter rides and private plane rides for Bill Belichick. They have sold season tickets. They're doing great on that. They're going to get a lot of eyeballs on the football game. This is a huge gamble. Massive gamble. And now it's become even bigger because of what you're seeing in all these reports. put down your comments in comment section below this video after we're done or during the show. Give me a call if you want to talk about it. Again, I'm glad that Bill Belichick seems to be happy. I don't care. Hopefully they're a beautiful couple and they have a great life together. But North Carolina has, according to reports, they're starting to get concerned. I don't know how you cannot be concerned. I don't know where this is going. Now, I would agree somewhat. If North Carolina goes 9-3 or 10-2 this year, if North Carolina somehow gets to the college football playoffs, but if they go 9-3, 8-4, this is all going to be kind of forgotten. Kind of forgotten. But I would tell you this. Not being able to get to your head coach as a or being having some worry about not being able to communicate with your head coach directly. You know, like in an email, like or just texting or if she's correcting your head coach on football questions, football answers from a CBS reporter, she's going to be, if that's what she's doing in an interview, what is she going to be doing when there's football conversations between recruiting, between the defensive coordinator, the offensive coordinator, Bill Belichick? Are we seeing a great change in Bill Belichick? That's another thing. I don't even want to bring this up, but I'm sure Bill Belichick is a very healthy man. Right? He seems like a healthy guy. I mean, for an older guy, right? I mean, he's a head coach of a football program. Now, some of those answers, what I saw during that interview, he was coherent. He was exactly the same Bill Belichick. But I'm just throwing this out there. I'm just throwing this out there, okay? You know, sometimes an older gentleman, an older lady, when we get up in age, and if sometimes, I'm not saying it's happening to Bill Belichick, but sometimes when you go through a massive personality change, it could be a sign of something else, of some cognitive thing going on. I'm just throwing that out there because Bill Belichick has always been a control freak. Now he doesn't seem like he is anymore, from the outsider perspective. That is something that's kind of strange about this. More strange than an old guy dating a young woman. For me, it's like, has he really, I mean, this guy, Bill Belichick, he does not, he has controlled the message on everything he's done. He doesn't really talk about Robert Kraft. He doesn't mention Robert Kraft once in his book. Not once. He doesn't really talk about Tom Brady and he doesn't, everything is him. He controls everything. And suddenly he's being interrupted. Answering football questions. I don't know, guys. Interesting story. We're going to have to keep up with it. I don't think it's a realignment story. I just think it's a 2025 North Carolina story, right? It's something that we all got to keep an eye on. I mean, even today, something has happened. Okay, let's get to Skaven. Yes. Thank you so much for becoming a new member of the PATC program. thank you so much. You are hereby knighted officially, cloak and dagger. Mr. Cornhusker, go to our library of shows, check it out. We have got to get to the hot bubble of action here. We have got to get to the information here. Right there. Right there. Hot bubble of action, North Carolina. We're going to give you just a couple of nuggets here. Hold on. I got to do something real quick. Give me a moment. Hold on, everybody. I got to clean something up here. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? Got to close that out. Hold on. I'm all bottled up here. Hold on. Okay. Okay. Okay, so this, again, this came from the North Carolina Money Perch. And it was explained to BTM, a couple of things that have been, that is known within North Carolina, is known within Virginia, and maybe some of you knew all this. I do not know, but I'm okay to say it. So we're going to talk about it here. Again, about a couple months ago, we did a live show talking about how North Carolina and Virginia are joined at the hip. We went through all the reasons why. We've been told here that North Carolina, University of North Carolina, when they hired that law firm, and I do not have the name of that law firm ahead. I do not have that name of that law firm in front of me. I do not have any of my notes with me, but it's you can Google it. You go ahead and Google it. North Carolina hired a law firm, a massive, powerful law firm, one of the biggest in the country, in the world. I remember two of the names. It's Meager and Flan or something like that. Two of the names I remember. Meager, M-E-A-G-H-E-R, Flan, F-L, something like that. When they hired that law firm, so that law firm is doing all the work, the consulting work, getting all the information, using all their connections, whatever they are doing, it is for Carolina Blue Matter. Carolina Blue Matter. That's the name. That's their... Florida State had the Osceola. What was it? The Osceola Project? Florida State. North Carolina has the Carolina Blue Matter, having to do with conference affiliation. Having to do with the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill's conference affiliation. If they need to make a move, you know, all that goes with it. Everything that goes with their conference affiliation. This law firm is doing the work to guide Bubba Cunningham and the president and everything that's going on in North Carolina. And since the FOIA report, since this news was broke a couple months ago, there was over $600,000 that North Carolina has spent on this work. And according to the report at the time, the law firm was still hired by North Carolina. Okay? We were told that law firm, you know what? I got to get the name of the law firm here. Hold on. Okay. The law firm is Skadden, Arps, Slate, Meagher, and Flom. Skadden, Arps, Slate, Meagher, Meagher, and Flom. Okay? The University of North Carolina hired the law firm of Skadden, Arps, Slate, Meagher, and Flom for legal advice regarding conference affiliation and realignment. This engagement, referred to as the Carolina Blue Matter, involved exploring options related to North Carolina's membership in the Atlantic Coast Conference and other potential conference affiliations. The legal fees associated with this work has exceeded $600,000. Now, obviously, the scope of the engagement, they hired the Skadden law firm to provide legal counsel on the commercial issues involving athletics, including conference membership, realignment, TV rights. I got a feeling we're going to learn a lot more about that. But let me tell you why that's so important. Why that law firm is so important. Besides being so powerful and using a powerful law firm for this purpose, for their conference affiliation. We have been told that law firm, and I'm going to be careful here because I don't want to get sued by a big law firm. So, supposedly, that law firm of Skadden, Arps, and blah, 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 Skadden, Arps, Slate, Meagher, and Flom, allegedly, pretty much has an office at the University of Virginia, School of Law. They have that law firm and the University of Virginia are, you're talking about joined at the hip. We're told that they are joined at the hip, the elbow bone, the earlobe, and every other place on your body. That this law firm runs programs at they give awards. They're doing this law firm is located. They're mainly located in New York City, and we're going to talk about New York City in a moment. So, again, it was told to us, like, North Carolina and Virginia, they've been working on conference realignment for years, even though they haven't done anything. Well, they have done stuff. They've said no to the Big Ten. They're always, like everybody else, they're always on the lookout, landscape, always getting consulting work. And this is North Carolina hiring this law firm, and this law firm is very tight with University of Virginia. I'll get back to New York City in a moment. Here is another big part of why North Carolina and Virginia, why that everybody that I talk to believes that they're going to be joined at the hip in this next conference disruption. Because again, if you go to the metrics, if you go to the spreadsheets that everybody uses, Virginia doesn't show up. Virginia is not at the top of the list in football. They've had a pretty good basketball program. Now, with endowments, Virginia is massive. But again, people, on X, on message boards, they don't talk a lot about Virginia and why they would be valuable for the Big Ten and the SEC. We've gone over some of the reasons why, but we truly believe that North Carolina and Virginia are joined at the hip. We were told another major reason why they're tied at the hip. Now, I've always looked at this North Carolina and Virginia thing as, okay, they're tied at the hip. They've got a long history. They got the longest rivalry in Southern football, whatever. Most games played. Research universities, AAU. Student apocalypse. We've gone over all the reasons why. International students, demographic, population growth. But I've always said, or at least I thought of it, I said, well, Virginia is more lucky to have North Carolina in this relationship than North Carolina is having Virginia. Right? Like I always look at my wife and I'm always thinking, boy, I'm the lucky one. My wife got screwed out of this deal. I am the lucky one in this marriage. So I look at North Carolina, Virginia going, well, Virginia is kind of like the fat guy from Minnesota. North Carolina is like the little general. But what was explained to us from a North Carolina, I'll just say North Carolina people, is that North Carolina, and we've talked about this, but I've never said it in this manner because I didn't know about it until I was just told this. When Maryland left to go to the Big Ten, we've talked about this before. When Maryland left to go to the Big Ten, when North Carolina and Virginia said no to the Big Ten, and then the Big Ten ended up with Rutgers and Maryland. North Carolina and Virginia made that decision pretty much together, right? They talked about it together. When Maryland left, Maryland's president got a lot of blowback, political blowback at Maryland, at the university. Major blowback from people in media. John Feinstein, the faculty at Maryland, there was a lot of blowback. Some of the other ACC schools mocked the idea, saying you're going to play up in the wintertime in Wisconsin. They got a lot of blowback. Maryland was looked upon as an ACC school, obviously. They had no cover. No disrespect to Rutgers, but Rutgers gave Maryland no political cover. It did not help Maryland at all. Now, if you ask anybody at Maryland today, they said they made the right decision. I think they did. I think it's pretty obvious. But this is what Virginia gives North Carolina. The reason why North Carolina values Virginia in this situation is if North Carolina goes to the SEC, the people in the chat room, the people on X, the people on the message boards, they're going to say, great move, North Carolina. But there are going to be people at the University of North Carolina that ain't going to like this move at all. Even with the Board of Governors approving it, because they're the ones that are going to have to approve it, there is going to be major blowback. There are major slice of the support at North Carolina that wants that school to go to the Big Ten or wants that school to stay in the ACC. It's always been that way. To include Virginia along with North Carolina, gives North Carolina that political cover. North Carolina, if North Carolina ends up to go to the SEC or the Big Ten, but I'm going to focus on the SEC because we got another part of the story to get to. I'm sorry for the long monologue. I'm sorry for it, but I haven't been on the air for 3 days. I've been working on all this stuff, so you guys just got to let me run with it. If you need to leave and come back and watch it later, I completely understand. But for North Carolina to get that SEC invitation, they're spending all this money on it. They've been talking about this, it would be a massive development, a massive move by the university. And if they had Virginia go with them, they would be bringing the ACC with them. Tobacco Road, North Carolina and Virginia. They would have that ACC political cover. They would be bringing a little piece of that ACC with them. It wouldn't be such a volatile move for the university. They can sell it better at North Carolina. And Virginia is the one university that can give North Carolina this political cover. So that is another reason why people believe that North Carolina and Virginia are joined at the hip. It's going to be, look, it might be, you put out a spreadsheet, you're looking at the math, you're looking at the revenue that would come in for North Carolina, being an SEC member, exposure, you're looking at all the positive of North Carolina. But it would still be a difficult move for North Carolina to leave the ACC. A psychological, political, you've got so many students that go back and forth to North Carolina and Virginia, undergraduate, graduate, master, law firm, this. So that is another reason why North Carolina and Virginia are joined at the hip. Again, relationships matter in conference realignment. They just do. It's a very important part of it. Extremely important part of it. The right blend, the right combination, the politics, and I'm not talking right or left. Sometimes I am, but in this case I'm not. So that, just throwing that out there. Now, for the last part of this. No. Larry GM, wait, is Greg going to tie this all together by breaking the story that Jordan works for the law firm? No, I'm not. No, it's again, MBM seems that UNC UVA is just a move to add teams. No, we've been through all the reasons why, and I get that people do not agree. If the SEC does this, I get that people do not agree with the SEC. I get it. I understand it, but there's a lot of reasons that, it has to do with students. It has to do with research. It has to do with expanding the footprint. It has to do with international students. It has to do with who the presidents want to vote for. When they put their name on the dotted line, who are they voting for? And according to everything we've been told, the SEC wants North Carolina and Virginia. And they believe it's a combo deal. And we think now there's a lot of reasons to believe that is absolutely true. Okay. One other thing. Now, this is everything we said just already on this show. Solid. What we're going to talk about now is I'm only going to spend a minute on it, and then we're going to open up the phone lines. There is something that I am working on right now, and I usually don't do this. I usually don't talk about it in the open until I have it nailed down either as a yes or a no. But the reason why I'm doing this, I'm not gonna give enough. I'm not gonna burn anybody. I'm not gonna burn any sources. I'm not gonna burn the story. This is not a threat to the story. I'm not gonna go deep enough into it. I'm gonna have people telling me, saying, just tell us more, Greg. I'm not gonna do it. I'm giving you this example because this is what I'm working on and other people are working on. Other people, major people are working on this type of stuff right now, late April. Now, it ain't waiting. None of this is waiting. Nothing is imminent, but the talks are not waiting. We believe that UNC North Carolina Chapel Hill has had representation talking directly to the Southeastern Conference, the SEC. Recently. I was told recently. I didn't know what recently meant. I do not have a date on recently. But I poked and I prodded. And it seems like it happened on or after April 21st. UNC met representatives of the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, has met with representatives of the Southeastern Conference. We do not have this confirmed. We don't. The moment, if I get it confirmed that it did not happen, or the moment I get it confirmed that we're not going to be able to find out, or the moment I get it confirmed that it did happen, I'm going to tell you, we are going to go live again. The reason I'm able to say all of this, just this rumor, is because, how do I say this? It's this information that was given to me is not attached. I have no strings on this. None. Like, I am not, I'm not. I'm not getting embargoed on this, so there's nobody to embargo. That I'm not working with anybody. I've got this. I got this space now on this particular part of the story. If I can get it confirmed, and if I can do it in a way that is that if I can do it in a good way, get it confirmed, or confirm that it did not happen, that is what I'm working on. But I just wanted to give you an example of this is where we're at. People are we do know, we've got other things confirmed. We do know that everybody's talking, at least in a socialized setting, where schools are talking to conferences, people. But this was we do know all that is happening. We do know that big money people are pushing big money people are pushing. I'm going to get to that in a moment. I'm going to go back into something else. But this rumor, and we're calling it a rumor right now, was a physical meeting, if it happened. Physical meeting. And if it did happen, if this physical meeting did happen, we don't have it confirmed yet, but it leads us to New York City. And we've already brought up we've already brought up New York City earlier in the show. I ain't saying, but I'm saying. But again, we do not have this. This isn't Colorado in the Big 12 when we knew exactly what day, what city, but I could not give you the details on that because I was definitely embargoed on that story. And there's other people that were on that story. But on May 8th, I was able to say the Pac-12 got a shot in the solar plexus. This one, we got the word, if it happened, we got the word after the meeting occurred. Not before the meeting, after the meeting occurred. So again, I'm not destroying anything if I'm able to confirm this story. That's another difference. One other thing, and then we're going to open up to the phone lines. Every disruption is different. Every realignment is different from me. And I've been doing this for a long time, and the USC story, the Washington, Oregon, even before that, Texas. They all differ from each other, at least a little bit, sometimes a lot. What the conferences are looking for, what they can afford, is it going to be a national base? Is it going to be regional? Is it going to be a school with a commonality with the other schools in the conferences? There's all different variables in this, right? I got a feeling that a major part of this next wave of disruption for the Big Ten and the SEC, one of the major components that they're going to be looking at, both conferences. So if you want to put up a spreadsheet, and people have done this, and they've used this number in their spreadsheets, and I talked about it last year. But having to do with endowments. If the Big Ten is at 18 schools. The SEC is at 16 schools. These schools, these conferences are massive. We started the show talking about it. They have spent billions of dollars for their brand. They're not going away. They're massive conferences. They've got presidents who want something in this deal. And we think the one metric that is going to be very important when it comes to the SEC and the Big Ten is, and it has been told to us in a very crude way, but I'm going to tell you, is we want rich schools in rich locations. That was told to us, and that's a very crude way of saying it. Rich, wealthy schools in rich, wealthy locations. In other words, representing a rich demographics. We've been told that point blank. That's another reason why we still believe, even on Tuesday, April 29th, that the SEC has North Carolina and the University of Virginia as their number one targets. Now we're going to open up the phone lines. 763-260-1333. Talk about anything in college football that you desire. So they picked Oregon, Michael Smith. The Big Ten picked Oregon because it fulfilled the correct blend. Fox wanted Oregon. The Big Ten presidents wanted Washington. Again, this is going to come back to blend. This is going to come back to blend. What is the right blend for the Big Ten and the SEC?
From
Rick.
Rick is on the line. I appreciate the phone call, Rick. Thank you so very much. The floor is yours.
So they want rich, wealthy locations. Huh?
A crude way of saying it. Yes, we want rich schools. When they say rich locations, I think they mean
rich endowments.
Rich endowments, rich demographics. They're looking for money. That type of thing. They're not, again, everything else is still going to be important. The eyeballs, the brand, this is not, they're not going to go ahead and take Harvard or, the SEC is not going to take Stanford, right? Even though they got the most. So we're not saying that that's the only, but that is going to be very, when the smoke clears on this, I think that is going to be something that people are going to point to for the SEC, especially. But go ahead, sir.
Well, I remember talking to you a few months ago when I asked you a question, and we still haven't got the answer to the question. What does North Carolina want? Make up your bloody mind for once and for all. What do you want?
Yeah.
Well, we kind of know a little bit because if they had the secret meeting, well, then everything you say is correct, and the tilt is toward the SEC. But I'm really wondering what you think about how much power, as you and I speak today, how much power does UNC wield? And specifically, do they have enough power to say to the SEC, well, not only do we want Virginia tagging along with us, we want Virginia and North Carolina State as a 3-team package in the deal. And if you don't give it to us, we'll call up Mr. Petiti and see what he thinks of the idea. Do they wield that kind of power?
I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and guess they don't. But, you know, again...
Do you see how that could solve a lot? Do you see how that could solve a lot of internal problems?
Yes. And again, Rick, I mean, you bring up a great... again, I'm going to say this, and there's going to be a large segment of people going to be upset with me, but I don't know how else to say it, but to say it, Rick, you know, like North Carolina is being targeted by the SEC and the Big Ten. And so they have, because they have that, and because the SEC perceives the Big Ten is targeting them, and the Big Ten is rightfully perceiving the SEC's targeting them, that is going to give North Carolina some pretty good leverage in those negotiations. You know, and I said this, Rick, during the spring and summer of 2022. And boy, did I have a lot of Big Ten people yell at me. Holy smokes. I should go back and do that. I should go back and do a live show of episode 22. Because I think a lot of people would learn. I mean, because some of this is going to happen in the same way. USC, when I mentioned that, you know, when I said that USC is talking to the Big Ten, this is going to happen, these are the reasons why, people thought it was crazy. But I also said, Rick, oh, and guess what? I'm being told that USC has a lot of leverage in this. Lots of leverage. And they're going to be able to call some shots on this. And people are going, why would they have great... First of all, Greg, this ain't happening. You're drunk, Greg. Second of all, if it was happening, USC could not tell... The Big Ten would tell USC to pound sand. Well, it turned out, when the smoke cleared, that USC had so much leverage on the Big Ten. Now, they could not... they're not going to have the veto. You know, they were, and I said at the time, no way could they veto Oregon's entry into the Big Ten. They couldn't do that. But they had the power, so much leverage, that they demanded and they got full rights to the Big Ten network, full memberships. Like, they were going to get the Big Ten network's full payouts year one, USC. No other school received that. Not even the original 11 Big Ten schools when the Big Ten network was first created. Nebraska did not get that. Rutgers and Maryland did not get that. Oregon and Washington did not get it after that. But USC, UCLA got it. That's how much leverage USC had. Because they knew that the Big Ten, when USC called the Big Ten did not want to let USC do something crazy like a form an independent football like Notre Dame, or dare say even call the SEC. They wanted to lock them in. Just like when Texas and Oklahoma called Sankey. Sankey goes, I don't want you guys calling the Big Ten. Let me call the presidents right now. Ba 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 ba. Same with North Carolina, Rick. So you bring up something that might sound crazy, but is it really crazy? Because North Carolina knows they got two guys going after them. So they've got some power in all this. Go ahead, sir.
And then I would think if they also brought up that suggestion to the Big Ten, of course the Big Ten would love North Carolina and Virginia, but I think they would tolerate the Wolfpack by immediately calling up Notre Dame and saying, hey, the conference, the ACC is dissolving because we're going to take North Carolina, Virginia, and North Carolina State. Would you like to come to the Big Ten at this time for a foursome? And then you've got the academics and the football, Notre Dame, and the also-ran Wolfpack, and you've got the academics and football with the North Carolina, Virginia, and you've always got Miami, because I just don't think the SEC wants Miami.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much that North Carolina's got some real power to wield against the SEC to get them to do. Yeah, I think the SEC would take the 3-pack, the North Carolina State, Virginia, if they had to keep the Big Ten from getting it. I think they'd have to. How could they say no?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I can't. I don't know. I mean, you bring up a point. I can't.
If you say no, we're going to the Big Ten.
Yeah, but maybe the Big Ten will say no, and then they're caught with 2 no's, and then they're like, okay, we'll come back, and I don't know, man.
Then the bluff is called. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
But you haven't lost anything by trying the bluff.
Yeah. Hopefully you haven't lost anything. I'm sure you haven't.
Well,
yeah.
Well, I don't think you have, because I don't think the Big Ten and the SEC are talking to each other about their negotiations with the Tar Heels. Do you?
Yeah. I don't know, man.
I mean, let's say hypothetically it's correct that North Carolina has spoken to the SEC. Do you think Sankey's telling Petiti anything about the talks he's having?
Petiti and Sankey I don't believe that Petiti and Sankey are talking about the talks they're having. No. Yeah, is that the question?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I think the bluff would work.
Yeah, I mean, it has a chance of working. Yep.
And you never know until you try. Okay, let's get some other callers.
All right, man. Appreciate it, Rick. Great call, sir.
Yeah, man.
Ryan Willie, I do apologize for not getting your super chat up earlier. I'm so sorry, man. Bellis Girlfriend, more like his PR person. She stopped CBS from asking about how they met. She sets up interviews for him. Well, I do think that she's his girlfriend. I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's enough information out there that, I think they're a couple. And I particularly am not interested in how they met. I think it's okay that they don't say how they met. It's their business. It's their personal life is their business. But the reason I covered it today was not because of all that, but because of North Carolina is now worried. According to reports, they're now worried about her influence over Belichick's football decisions. Now that becomes a story. That is when it becomes a story. And according to reports, that has happened. North Carolina is concerned about this now. I mean, if it's true, if it's true, if the reports are true that she was interrupting the interview to correct his football answers, boy, it's going to go all pear-shaped. Thank you so much, Ryan Willie. Thank you so much for the super chat. I apologize I did not get to it earlier. Thank you, good man. Mr. Hoosier, Ricky Tungate, 5 gifted memberships. We'll get back to it in a second.
Call from
Tristan 5.
Tristan 5, can you hold on for a moment, please?
Yes, I can.
I appreciate it. Ricky Tungate, Mr. Hoosier, Edward Kennedy, L.K. Knoll, Eric Miller, Bob Husley, Dave Chauncey. We're all gifting a membership because of the generosity of Mr. Hoosier, Ricky Tungate. When you get an opportunity, please say thank you to Ricky Tungate. Ricky, thank you once again for your incredible generosity to the show, helping us keep the lights on. You've been doing this for a very long time. I appreciate all of your help. I appreciate all the gifted memberships that you have given to the PATC family. Thank you so very much. All of you are knighted. Once again, Cloak and Dagger. To Edward Kennedy, L.K. No, Eric Miller, Bob Husley, and Dave Chauncey, go to our library. You can watch all the episodes, including members-only early Pete Cloak and Dagger episodes. Give them a watch. Thank you so much, Ricky Tungate. Tristan 5, thank you for your patience. I appreciate it. The floor is yours.
Hey, Greg, thanks for taking my call.
You got it, buddy.
Listen, I wanted to float this. I heard your last caller talking about, why doesn't the Big Ten go after the whole bundle of schools that North Carolina would like? And I think he's probably correct in his thinking, but I think part of the answer here is that I think the SEC may have already kind of said yes to a similar deal. And I wanted to just kind of run this by you and get your reaction to it. So when you're talking about North Carolina, they have a board of trustees, they have a board of governors, and then, of course, the SEC would be dealing also with ESPN.
Yep.
And so what I'm thinking here, Greg, is that when they were dealing with the board of trustees, now the trustees are the people directly in charge of UNC, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I think when the SEC was dealing with the trustees or whoever that person was that represented them, they were being told, you got to take Virginia with us. And I think the SEC obviously had no problem going along with that idea. Like that's a school that they would like to have. So they said yes. And then I think the Board of Governors, because they represent the entire state, were telling the SEC, well, you got to take NC State along with UNC. And I think they would say, that's fine. We can have two schools in the same state. We do that a lot, and they wouldn't have a problem with it. And then I think at the very tail end of the process, Greg, this is where ESPN comes in. They're going to come in and say, you got to take Duke because we need that North Carolina-Duke basketball matchups for winter programming. And I think the SEC is going to be forced to take all three of those schools from North Carolina.
Mm.
And the fallout from that might be that Virginia Tech doesn't get a chance to get into the conference. Because I don't think that they'd be willing to take a fifth from that region. They'd probably be willing to take three from the same state, given that each school brings something to the table. Duke basketball is great. North Carolina is the number one brand in the state. So they're not going to say no to them. I think there's a good chance that North Carolina has wielded that power that you're talking about, Greg, and that NC State and Duke and Virginia are going to end up in the SEC along with them. And there's probably, in my opinion, was a little bit of arm twisting involved in making that happen. Because no state in the history of the SEC's footprint, no state has ever had three member universities. I mean, Greg, we're talking about right now, Texas only has two, and that's the biggest state within the footprint.
Yep.
Florida only has one.
Yep.
And they're the second biggest.
Yep.
So I think that it's not gonna all happen overnight. Like it has to go in phases. I think a few years down the road, you're gonna end up seeing Duke and NC State end up in the SEC along with North Carolina. And I think that's going to represent, or it's going to symbolize how much power they do have in this process.
I think you and Rick are correct. I think they hold a lot of power, and because of that, something might happen that I was not anticipating, and you guys are bringing up options to that. So you are correct.
Yeah.
It's something to consider. They do have power in this.
And the thing is, Greg, if Duke had a really big fall off in their basketball, productivity after Coach K retired, you could probably make an argument that they wouldn't make the cut. But they've maintained their excellence. They had a Final Four team this year. So you can't really make the argument that, hey, their basketball product's not going to be worth anything. They've maintained it. Mm-hmm. So I think that has actually really helped them in a big way. And they're probably going to be in the P2, I think. Okay. I think Duke will be in the P2. So we'll see how it unfolds.
They're a very wealthy school. So.
Yeah, they are.
Yep.
They got a lot of bucks.
Yep.
All right, Greg.
All
that's all I had. I'll let you go.
Appreciate it. Love it. Thank you, sir. Thanks for your patience too, man.
Oh, no problem. You take care.
Yep. LOC, Lockman in the chat room. UNC would throw up before they join the SEC. That is low class for them. And it's one of the reasons why I brought up earlier, late in the monologue, by the way, if you missed it, one of the reasons we were told that North Carolina, one of the many reasons we have learned over the last year why North Carolina and Virginia are tied to the hip. You're going to have a lot of North Carolina Tar Heel supporters, be it faculty, professors, researchers, alumnus, maybe even some of the boosters, probably, the big ones are going to want to move to the Big Ten and the SEC. But there are going to be a lot of people out there in North Carolina Tar Heels country, so to speak, that are going to no, we don't want to go to the SEC. And, but bringing Virginia with them is going to soften that argument up a bit. Again, one of the reasons, because we talked about the rock fight at UNC Chapel Hill. We talked about the rock fight that has gone on at that university. Literally, it's been a war for their soul. What is their university? What are they going to be in the future? And there was a pretty good length of time that it looked like if they left the ACC, they would join the Big Ten. The people who filled up the Board of Regents, before the Board of Governors had the power, before the last 5 years, we're talking about the last decade, the Board of Regents, there was this advantage, Big Ten, Gusowich, the Chancellor, Big Ten, Bubba Cunningham, big time relationship with Jim Delaney, still has one, of course. And then the boosters were the SEC. Now the SEC faction has taken over control of the Board of Regents and, of course, the Board of Governors. So it's leaning away from the Big Ten. It's leaning North Carolina. There has been a battle going on at the university. So what Lockman is saying in the chat room, people still have or believe there's a perception out there of that of North Carolina, and there is among some factions of it, that it has changed. The university, the makeup of the university, I think the doors are more open to going to the SEC more than ever before. Bubba Cunningham played golf for Notre Dame before he was in school. The ones with the possible sports have the power. Yeah, well, Clemson and Florida State, they have some power, no question about it. No question about it, Movie Time Blues. No question about it. Huge brands, absolutely massive brands, and the old SEC might need Clemson and Florida State to pay for the Virginia and North Carolina. We're all going to find out. But I do believe there is no shot at a Clemson and Florida State combo going to the Big Ten. I've been told straight out that is not happening. Florida State's going to have Florida State to get to the Big Ten is going to need the right blend. Is going to need somebody that absolutely, without doubt, satisfies the Big Ten presidents. It ain't going to be Florida State and Clemson. Could be Clemson and somebody, Florida State and somebody, but a Clemson and Florida State combination ain't going to do it. Okay, what else is going on here? I was able to give the 5 gifted memberships to Christopher Stanley, Coron Byerly, Mark Orchery, Bernie Madoff, Tony L. Barber. You were all given a membership. You're all officially knighted. Cloak and Dagger. You can go to our library of episodes, watch them all, including our members only Cloak and Dagger early peak episodes. Congratulations to you 5. We've been on the air for 2 hours and 6 minutes. I think we're going to shut it down. I got to get ready for some NBA playoffs. First round of the NBA playoffs. I don't know who's playing tonight. I think it's the Knicks. And the Pistons. The New York Knicks are going to try to close out the Detroit Pistons. I think that game's tonight. Maybe it's not. Hold on. Milwaukee and Indiana. Pistons and the Knicks. Magic and the Celtics. Clippers and the Nuggets. There's a lot of games tonight. Lots of games tonight. I want to thank everybody for coming on in. This was a big show. I appreciate it. Ryan, Willie, Amazing Blue, Expedition Greg, Skaven, yes, Ricky, Tungate, Helmer Hennison, thank you for the super chat. Does SEC support Olympic sports? Factor for North Carolina? Of course, yes, the SEC supports Olympic sports. And a smaller number of sponsored sports. North Carolina has a larger bandwidth, like the Big Ten. So in that factor, on that metrics, North Carolina lines up a lot better with the Big Ten. Lot better. But if North Carolina favors shorter travel, right? Regional Olympic sports, and they're going to favor the SEC over the Big Ten. But yeah, there are sports that UNC sponsors that the SEC does not at a conference level. Very good point, Hammer Hennison. Appreciate the super chat. I want to thank you all for your donations to help us keep the lights on. The phone calls were excellent. Once again, the comments in the comments section. Make sure before you leave, hit the subscribe button. Smash the like button if you've liked our content. You've got to subscribe and you got to turn on those notifications because we can come on live at any time. We could come on live later tonight. I'm working on stuff, guys. I'm working on some stories. I don't have them confirmed yet. Buckle up. Brace for impact. Until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.